favoured for the cube lock, but definitely not 100%.
Right, as we've seen some pretty good starting hands for Switch. He tends to be pretty good at getting those early Murlocs to get things rolling. But that is such a devastating hand for seogui. Just every anti-aggro card you can want. Obviously, I'm exaggerating to an extent. You still want your Hellfires, Defiles, cards like that to really shut down those boards, because against Murlocs, it's generally a lot better to clear than it is to stall. Like, a Defile or a Hellfire is a lot better than a Tar Creeper, but it's not bad. Like, you take what you can get.
Switch, they're going for the Murloc synergy, just deciding, like, I need to have a bit of a good game to win this, so I'm going to keep these, I'm going to draw some synergy, and I'm going to go. But he didn't get what he was after. He did get Call to Arms, though, and Divine Favour's not half bad either, I've heard.
Yeah.
You don't want it in your opener, but if you're going to draw some bad cards, Divine Favour's a good bad card to draw.
Yeah, I think this is perfectly acceptable for Switch. You know, like, Murloc deck, like Murloc Paladin is obviously still around, and it functions in a very similar way. You're still going for an aggressive build with double Divine Favour, rather than a slower build with Tyrion and Spike Ridge Steed, things like that. But the way you play the early turns has changed dramatically, because you don't have Grimscale Chum or any other one-drop Murlocs to curve out into Rockpool Hunter anymore. You generally rely on a more mid-game strategy that revolves around Call to Arms.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for Chum. I never really liked him much, but now he's gone, I miss him terribly.
I think that's how everyone feels. Like a 1-mana 2/1, that feels pretty good.
Yeah,
right
I'd take a 1-mana 1/1 Murloc sort of in a lot of situations right now, yeah. Or at least a 1/2, so... Switch doing what he can to present some sort of threat, but not in the situation he'd want to be. Look at this hand of seogui.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting indeed. Just how he optimizes it is obviously the next question left available to him. I would have definitely heard the argument there for Tar Creeper, because you kind of want to play your Doomsayer into your opponent's turn 4, I think, because it delays their Call to Arms for an extra turn, which is the power play in any kind of Paladin deck. Make no mistake, for those of you who haven't been keeping up with the most recent metas.
There was also a chance to force your opponent incredibly wide and then Hellfire it all as well, so maybe he felt that he was just going to get a War Leader in the face if he wasn't careful.
I mean, you've got good follow-up. You've got Tar Creeper Kobold Librarian, seems fine. If you drew a Lackey, Spirit Singer Umbra would have been very powerful on this turn, because you were expecting to have a clear board going into this turn. It's very few scenarios in which your opponent can keep anything on board whatsoever.
So his plan is obviously here to, forgetting the normal plan of, you know, making really cheap demons, he wants to get the most out of these Hellfires, and he wants to use his health total to, as a resource to some degree. It's not like against the Hunter where you die if you do that.
Right.
And so he can happily sort of look for those bigger things to make this game over, like a Lackey, while simultaneously having these Hellfires ready as a backup for him.
That's right. And you know, this is not perfect from Switch, but at the same time, if you are going to be going for Call to Arms here, you were saying earlier that Call to Arms is best used when on a clear board. And in the tempo-based matchups, I definitely agree with you. But against a Warlock, it's not necessarily true to the same extent, because there's obviously all symmetrical board clear effects from the Warlock. Hellfire and Defile clear their own Warlock board. So if you can make them, or force them into clearing their own board in the meanwhile, you know, if they have to clear your board, it's the best scenario in which that can occur.
Juggler's not what you really wanted here, to be fair. It's
Very
weird.
true.
You normally
Very
want the
true.
Juggler, but you want to play one from hand at some point where you can get a cheeky 2 guaranteed to face.
I agree.
And he's not going to get that cheeky 2, he's going to get a Hellfire.
You got to say, stop saying cheeky 2.
Okay, noted.
As options, again, plentiful for seogui. As I mentioned, does not want to go for Hellfire very much at all, to be honest, because it's pretty weak clearing off his own board. He could hit so many more things on a future turn, but he makes a play that is more conservative, but a heck of a lot more vulnerable to damage.
This is launching time for these guys. I think you have to just, you've got Divine Favour, just burn stuff here and get as much as you can out of these. The only question is, do I want to protect one with the Blessing of Kings?
You do what, sorry? Did you say?
Like, just dump your hand and shoot everything in the face. You're going to get so much damage to
I misheard. I thought you said Divine Favour. Yeah, you go all in here. Like you said, you want to play Blessing of Kings to protect against Defile as much as possible.
Right, the Divine Favour is a backup plan. You can afford to launch everything at face because you have that Divine Favour.
Absolutely agreed. Obviously, Blessing of Kings coming down on one of these Jugglers. One of the best cards in the early game against Warlock. Very often coming down before the Call to Arms often would, because Warlock really struggles to deal with those mid-sized minions.
Now, the reason he's pausing is because he's working out is there any turn where I could have forced seogui to play AoE? Can I prove to myself he hasn't got any? No, I can't, so I protect my juggler.
This doesn't really protect his juggler, though. Like, going for Righteous Protector there, it ends up with 2 less juggles, but it protects him against AoE, like, a lot more. Like, a lot more.
I mean, I was thinking of AoE as Defile, to be honest, but yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so if it was Defile, and he had a Righteous Protector instead of 2 dudes here, that would be an attack in with the cube, and his juggler would survive.
Okay.
There would obviously be 2 Tar Creepers that pop out of the cube on the following turn. But this is just a complete board clear. This is easy peasy for for seogui to clear the board.
And he's looking to be in a pretty good spot, although he has temporarily run out of things to do apart from the Hellfires.
I think I liked it quite a lot more, actually, now that I look at it. The extra 2 juggles, I do not think were worth it, because Lost in the Jungle, like, Righteous Protector was really good there, and Lost in the Jungle probably becomes better than Righteous Protector later in the game, because you're going to start drawing cards like Tarim, which you want as many dudes on board as possible. You're going to start drawing cards like Fungal Mancer, which you want more dudes on board. I think it was just, gave him not, like, the extra 2 damage was not worth the almost guaranteed keeping of the juggler on the board.
seogui is in a weird situation because he's held onto these Hellfires and somehow managed to get a board at the same time. Now he's in danger of blowing his own board up when he uses them. I'm not saying he's done anything wrong there, it's just made the Hellfires a lot weaker than they could have been, but then also he doesn't mind that because he's looking fairly stable. Doomguard is way too dangerous here.
Do you think?
How much does he want that Gul'dan?
He does want that Gul'dan, you are correct.
But now he's used the Dark Pact, how much does he want the Gul'dan? Not as much.
He still really wants that Gul'dan.
Yeah, it's a card you really want.
No, like, I was considering it because, you know, you really want to keep the Umbra alive to prepare for a Void Lord, and Doomguard is good there. Like, it just starts setting up towards way more damage towards your opponent. But like you said, Gul'dan too good here because he just has to survive 1 turn here, and then he goes Void Lord, and then he goes Gul'dan, and that's probably just game in that scenario. But for the moment, like, you know, I'm calling that scenario game.
But this is a good scenario for Switch,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. This is as good as he can really expect at this point, because if the best scenario, you've won the game by like turn 5 or 6. If it's getting to turn 7 and the Warlock's still alive, Vine Cleaver is the card you want outside of maybe Tarim.
Must point out there's only 1 Spellbreaker in this deck. So, you know, seogui is in a situation where he may have to take a chance at some point of, is it or isn't it? If there was 2, then he would have to play around it significantly more. But with 1, he may have a chance to just go for it.
And so I think here the play has to be just Possessed Lackey, which feels super bad. But okay, if you tap, you're dead to Tarim, because then that would be 6 and 4 from the weapon.
That's 10. Plus the 2 from the tap.
Doomguard, if it was 2 vulnerable last turn, it's 2 vulnerable this turn.
It's worse now.
Exactly. Hellfire, you want to save for if these are buffed by Tarim. I agree this is the play because you just want to survive till Void Lord. You need to pray your opponent has drawn badly, which they haven't. Divine Favor is good. Drawing 3 cards here is fantastic.
So, I think Switch know. I mean, it's not difficult, but I think he's even more sure than normal that Void Lord is on the way next turn, just from the last few turns from seogui.
Yeah, I agree. You are very much expecting Void Lord here.
Yeah, and he's going for the Spellbreaker now.
Well, he's going for the Spellbreaker, but at the same time, by playing it first, it has 2 benefits. It gets you the ability to play Spellbreaker on this turn, as you said, to deny the Lackey here, or to go for Void Lord on the following turn. But it also means you could possibly just not play any minions that Lackey can kill itself into. Like, you can make it so it's much harder for your opponent to kill it off, because obviously, if your opponent just plays Void Lord on this turn and cannot kill off their Void Lord, you have lethal, because you can go for Spellbreaker on the following turn.
You've got Tarim now because you pulled it from the Divine Favor, and that's also looking really good against this Void Lord.
Yeah, I'm liking this play a lot.
Switch may have found a way to get this done.
However, if you go for Cube here, you kill off the Lackey. You would then either get a... Oh no, if you get Doomguard, even Hellfire doesn't save you. You don't want to take that 50-50, do you? It's too risky.
No, I don't think it. I don't think it gains anything. Although it does look good at first glance.
It looks juicy because you can fit in the Hellfire as well. But like I said, if you may as well just go for the Void Lord on this turn, because the 50-50 doesn't provide lethal for you, and you lose on the spot so far as I can see. If you do end up getting the Doom, if you do end up getting the Doom,
find a way where he survives.
Is he just dead straight
I
away?
think he has to kill a
goes
1/1 with his lackey.
So if he goes Void Lord, you make it small.
So he does survive.
But. No, I think he just... Oh, yeah, killing off a 1/1.
Yeah,
sorry, you kill off
with
1/1. He's at 3 health. Yeah, you are correct. You are correct.
Yeah, I was thinking he wouldn't do that, but of course he'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, as we can see, it really is the only play that gives him any chance. Switch left in a position where Spellbreaker off the top will provide lethal for him. He was so close anyway, but taking an unbelievable matchup there at the end has put himself through to the finals. This is incredible. A 2 Filipino player final here at the HCT Taipei Tour Stop. Some beautiful Hearthstone.
Along with a Filipino caster who's going to be delighted to be casting that particular match.